October 14, 1943. Over northern Germany, Staff Sergeant Daniel Danny Mercer grips the yoke of his B-17F Flying Fortress as the bomber formation stretches across the pale morning sky like a metal continent. 300 American bombers push deep toward Schweinfurt. No fighter escort this far in, just aluminum, .50 caliber guns, and faith. Danny is 24, from Wichita, Kansas. His leather aide-to-jacket creaks as he leans forward. Frost forms at the edges of the cockpit glass. At 25,000 feet, the air is thin and bitter. His oxygen mask smells of rubber and cold sweat. Steady at 270, calls Lieutenant Harris from the right seat. Danny nods. Below them, flak blooms black, violent flowers tearing holes in the sky. The interphone crackles. Flak at 11 o'clock high, shouts the navigator. The fortress shudders. Steel fragments rip through the fuselage, with a sound like gravel thrown against a tin roof. The bomber to their right, Lucky Bell, drops back, trailing gray smoke. Danny watches her fall behind formation, engines coughing. No one says anything. They all know what happens to stragglers. Then they come. Fighters. 12 o'clock. Messerschmitt Bf-109 slice through the formation head-on. Cannons flashing. The nose gunner opens up with twin 50s. Tracers streaking across the thin blue sky. The fortress vibrates as waist gunners fire in rhythm. Brass casings clattering across the aluminum floor. A 109 flashes past Danny's windshield. So close he sees the pilot's goggles. The sky becomes chaos, contrails twisting. Bombers breaking apart. Parachutes blooming like white wounds. Another explosion. The fortress lurches violently left. Danny fights the yoke. Warning lights flare. Engine 3 coughs, then roars unevenly. Midair, midair, screams someone over the interphone. Danny glances right. Another B-17 is there. Too close. Its wing has sheared into theirs. Aluminum screams against aluminum. Propellers chew through metal. For a heartbeat, both bombers are locked together. 25,000 feet above Germany. Two crippled giants fused in the sky. Inside the cockpit, glass fractures. Hydraulic fluid sprays across Danny's gloves. Lieutenant Harris is bleeding from his forehead. Hold her, hold her. Harris gasps. Below, Germany waits, fields and villages far beneath the smoke. The bombers should fall. They don't. Instead, impossibly, they remain locked, one engine from each plane tangled, wings twisted, gravity pulling, but neither breaking free. Danny feels the nose dip. The controls are sluggish. The yoke trembles in his hands. Danny, Harris whispers, staring at the altimeter dropping slowly. We're not flying anymore. Danny swallows. No, he says quietly, we're falling. And the two bombers begin their terrible descent, still locked together. The fortress is no longer flying. It is dragging another dying machine down with it. Danny's gloved hands strain against the yoke. The control column feels disconnected, as if the cables have turned to rope. The altimeter unwinds. 24,000. 23,500. Engine 3's gone. The flight engineer shouts from behind. All pressure zero. The collision has fused them, together. Wingtip of one B-17 buried into the fuselage of the other. Twisted aluminum locks them like hooked claws. The second bomber hangs slightly below and to the right, its nose crushed, its top turret torn open. Danny risks a glance. Through shattered plexiglass, he sees movement in the other cockpit. A pilot, still alive. Two crews, 20 men, bound together in open sky. Flak continues to burst around them. German fighters circle, confused. The two bombers descend in an unnatural formation. Neither fully broken apart, neither controllable. Feather engine 3, Harris orders. Already tried. The engineer replies. Hydraulics shot. The nose dips harder. Airspeed climbs. Danny eases back gently. Too much pull and the damaged wing will tear off. Too little and they'll spiral. The interphone crackles again. Waist gunner here. The other crew's waving. Danny squints through the side window. The other B-17's waist gunner is pounding on his own shattered frame. Gesturing wildly, he makes a cutting motion across his throat, then points downward. Bail out. Harris sees it too. Danny's jaw tightens. If his crew jumps now, they'll drift into German farmland. Prison camps, maybe worse. But if they stay, the fortress shudders violently. Metal shrieks as the two airframes grind against each other. Danny, Harris says quietly, we're losing her. Altitude, 21,000. The second bomber shifts suddenly, its weight dragging their right wing lower. For a terrifying moment, the two planes roll together. The horizon spins. Counter it, Harris yells. Danny stomps left rudder, pulling back carefully. The controls respond barely. The fortress groans but steadies. Below them, clouds drift like indifferent witnesses. Inside the tangled bomber beneath them, one of the crew kicks open the bomb bay doors. Danny sees it through a break in metal. Men are preparing to jump. Pilot of the other ships climbing out. The waist gunner reports. Danny watches as a figure crawls along. The torn fuselage of the lower B-17. The man pauses, looks up straight at Danny's cockpit. For a second, across the roar of wind and engines, their eyes meet. Then the man pushes off. His parachute snaps open. One by one, others follow. White silk blossoms beneath them. Altitude, 18,000. Harris turns to Danny. We can't stay locked much longer. If that wing rips, a deafening crack interrupts him. The second bomber shifts again, metal tearing like paper. The bond between them is failing. And now, Danny must decide fight to keep control of a half-dead fortress, or abandon it before both bombers tear each other apart. The lower B-17 tears away. It happens with a violent metallic shriek. The twisted wing that has held them together finally gives way. Aluminum peels back. The second bomber drops abruptly, rolling onto its back as it falls. Danny's fortress jerks upward from the sudden release. For one sickening second, they are weightless. Then the nose pitches down hard. Trim it. Harris shouts. Danny fights the yoke with both hands. The control column shakes like it's alive. Warning lights flicker across the panel. Engine 3 is dead. Engine 4 sputters unevenly. The right wing is shredded. Fabric torn from control surfaces. Below them, the other bomber tumbles end over end, trailing smoke. A moment later it vanishes into cloud. Danny doesn't see if it explodes. He forces himself back to the instruments. Airspeed is climbing dangerously. Bomb bay doors, he calls. Still closed, comes the reply. If we're going down, we lighten her first. The bombardier crawls forward, blood running from a cut along his jaw. He pulls the emergency release. The fortress shudders again as thousands of pounds of bombs drop free into the open sky. The sudden loss of weight changes everything. The nose lifts slightly. The descent slows just enough. Hydraulics are shot, the engineer reports. We're running manual. Danny's breath fogs inside his oxygen mask. He tries the ailerons gently. The aircraft responds, sluggish but alive. Alive. Outside, the sky is eerily empty now. The formation is gone. No escort fighters. No friendly ships. Just scattered smoke and distant flak. Fighters coming back. The tail gunner yells. 3 Bf-109s peel toward them, sensing weakness. Danny feels it in his stomach, the cold understanding. A crippled bomber alone over Germany is prey. Gunners, hold fire till they're close, Harris orders. The Messerschmitts approach head-on again, cannons flashing. The nose gunner fires first, twin 50s hammering. Tracers cross in bright lines. One German fighter breaks away, smoke trailing from its engine. The second rakes their fuselage. Bullets punch through aluminum. The radio operator slumps over his set. Radio's out. Someone shouts. The third fighter slides beneath their belly, firing upward. The fortress trembles under the impact. Danny refuses to look back. He focuses on the artificial horizon. The trembling compass. The damaged wing that still holds. They are descending through 14,000 feet now. The air grows thicker. Control improves slightly. Danny, Harris says quietly, we're not making England. Danny already knows. He scans below through breaks in cloud. Fields. Forest. A river cutting across farmland. Germany. He lowers the nose slightly, aiming for open ground. Behind him, one of the gunners mutters a prayer. The fortress is wounded, alone, and bleeding fuel into enemy sky. And the ground is coming up fast. 10,000 feet. The ground is no longer abstract. Danny can see farmhouses, now red roofs, narrow roads. Autumn fields cut into neat squares. Peaceful, ordinary, and waiting. Engine 4's overheating. The engineer shouts, she won't hold. The right side of the fortress vibrates violently. Danny eases the throttle back, afraid that one more surge will rip the engine clean off the wing. The aircraft dips again. Feather it if you have to, Harris says, voice tight. If I feather 4, we're flying on 2. Harris doesn't answer. Below them, a line of trees marks a shallow valley. Beyond it, a flat stretch of farmland, recently harvested. It's the only open space wide enough. Danny makes the decision without saying it out loud. We're putting her down. Silence fills the cockpit for half a second. Then movement. Quick. Controlled. Training taking over fear. Prepare for crash landing. Harris calls through the interphone. Brace positions. Secure loose equipment. The bombardier crawls back from the nose. The top turret gunner abandons his position. The radio operator, still breathing, barely gets dragged away from the shattered set. Altitude, 6,000 feet. The fortress shakes as engine 4 finally sputters into silence. Smoke trails behind them like a black scar. 2 engines left. Danny lowers the landing gear. Nothing happens. Hydraulics are dead. The engineer yells. Gear's not coming down. Danny swears under his breath. A belly landing, then, on rough farmland. He lines up with the field. The wind pushes them slightly left. He corrects gently, careful not to overstress the damaged wing. Flak guns from somewhere below open fire again late, desperate shots. Black bursts pop near their left side. Stay with me, Harris murmurs. At 1,500 feet, Danny cuts the remaining throttles. The sudden quiet is terrifying. Only wind now. Wind and the groan of torn metal. Brace, brace, brace. The ground surges upward. The fortress slams into the field hard, belly first. Dirt explodes in a brown wave. The aircraft skids violently, bouncing, metal screaming as the bomb bay doors crumple inward. Danny's head snaps forward against his straps. The cockpit glass shatters completely. The right wing collapses, shearing off in a spray of debris. They spin sideways. Then, stillness. Smoke curls past the shattered windshield. The smell of fuel fills the air. For a long second, no one moves. Danny blinks. His ears ring. He tastes blood. Report, Harris croaks. Voices answer. Shaken. Alive. Not all but most. Outside, shouting. German voices. Danny turns his head slowly toward the broken side window. Across the field, figures are running toward them, soldiers in field gray uniforms. Rifles slung, boots kicking up dirt. The fortress didn't fall from the sky. It landed, and now the war is no longer 20,000 feet above Germany. It is standing in the field, coming toward them. The first German soldier reaches the wreck before the smoke clears. Danny struggles with his harness. His hands shake not from fear now, but from shock. The cockpit smells of gasoline and burned insulation. One spark and the fortress will become a furnace. Out, Harris orders. Move. The crew climbs through jagged openings in the fuselage. The side hatches twisted shut, so they crawl over splintered aluminum and drop into the churned earth of the field. Danny's boots sink into mud darkened by spilled fuel. Rifles snap up instantly. Hawk, field gray uniforms surround them. Wehrmacht infantry, young, older, tired faces beneath steel helmets. One soldier steps forward, MP-40 leveled at Danny's chest. His hands are steady. Danny raises his arms slowly. Around him, his crew does the same. The radio operator is carried out last, barely conscious. A German medic pushes through the ring of rifles without hesitation. He kneels beside the American, checking his pulse with professional calm. War, Danny thinks, has strange rules. A Luftwaffe officer arrives in a staff car moments later. His black boots shine despite the mud. He studies the wreck with sharp, appraising eyes. You flew that? The officer asks in careful English. Danny nods once. The officer looks at the torn wing, the collapsed fuselage, the distance of churned earth where they skidded to a stop. Unbelievable, he mutters softly. Danny follows his gaze upward. In the sky above, parachutes still drift down from the earlier collision. White silk against blue. Some will land safely. Some will not. The Luftwaffe officer notices too. You were attached? He asks, searching for the word. Mid-air collision, Danny replies. The officer studies him for a long moment, then gives a short nod as if acknowledging something rare. A truck arrives. The Americans are searched quickly, efficiently. Dog tags taken. Sidearms removed. One of the German soldiers finds a photograph in Danny's jacket. His mother standing in front of their house in Wichita. The soldier pauses, glances at Danny, then hands it back. No words. They are loaded into the back of the truck. The field grows smaller behind them. Smoke continues to rise from the wrecked fortress. As the truck rattles toward a nearby village, civilians begin to gather along the road. Women in plain dresses, elderly men, children clutching bicycles. They stare at the captured airmen with open hostility and something else. Disbelief. A woman steps closer as the truck slows. She looks at Danny directly. Her face is lined from years of rationing and air raids. You did not fall, she says in broken English. Danny meets her gaze. No, he answers quietly. The truck moves again. Behind them, the ruined bomber lies in a German field. Proof that sometimes machines refuse to obey gravity. Ahead, prison camps wait, and Danny understands something cold and certain. Surviving the crash was only the beginning. The truck smells of diesel and wet canvas. Danny sits on a wooden bench in the back, wrists resting on his knees, helmet gone, hair stiff with dried blood. Across from him, Sergeant Miller stares at the floorboards, jaw clenched so tight it trembles. The road narrows as they pass through a village. Half-timbered houses, church spire, laundry hanging stiff in the cold air. People gather as the truck slows. Women first. They stand close to the roadside. Aprons dusted with flour, hands red from scrubbing. Some hold children. Others clutch ration bags against their hips. Their eyes are fixed on the Americans, not cheering, not smiling, studying. One woman steps forward as the truck halts near the village square. She is older, maybe 50. A black scarf wraps around her hair. Her gaze moves slowly across the captured airmen. "You bombed our city," she says in careful English. Danny doesn't answer. He remembers the bomb load falling free above Schweinfurt, ball bearings factories, smoke rising. He does not know what those bombs hit after they left his aircraft. A younger woman pushes closer. Anger flashes across her face. "My sister," she says sharply. "Frankfurt." The guard barks at her to step back. The women don't move at first. Danny feels the weight of their silence heavier than the flak had been. Miller mutters under his breath, "We were just doing our job." Danny keeps his eyes forward. The Luftwaffe officer from the crash site approaches again, boots clicking against cobblestone. He exchanges quick words with the soldiers. His tone is firm. The women are gently but firmly pushed aside. As the truck rolls forward again, Danny risks one glance back. The older woman is still watching him. Not hatred now. Recognition. She has seen bombers before. She has heard them overhead at night, engines droning like distant thunder. She has waited in basements, counting seconds between explosions. Now one of those men sits in her village square. Human. Bleeding. Breathing. The truck leaves the village and joins a wider road. Smoke pillars mark distant industrial targets. The sky is empty now. No American formations, no fighters. Only silence. An hour later, barbed wire appears along the roadside. Guard towers. Searchlights. A painted sign reads, Stalag Luft III. The gates open slowly. Danny's stomach tightens. Inside the camp, rows of wooden barracks stretch across sandy soil. Thin figures in worn uniforms pause mid-step to watch the new arrivals. British RAF, American airmen, hollow faces, sharp eyes. The truck stops. "Rouse," a guard orders. Danny jumps down onto the cold ground. A British officer standing nearby studies him briefly. "Rough landing?" the man asks quietly. Danny nods once. The officer gives the smallest hint of a smile. "Welcome to Sagan." The gates close behind them with a metallic finality. The bombers refuse to fall, but the men who flew them have landed in a different kind of battlefield. And here, survival will depend on patience, not altitude. Stalag Luft III smells of damp wood and coal smoke. Danny stands in line outside the processing barrack, boots sinking into pale sand. The camp is built on a deliberately soft ground to collapse tunnels. Guard towers loom above, machine guns resting casually on their mounts. Inside the barrack, German clerks sit behind wooden desks. Name, rank, serial number. Danny answers evenly. Nothing more. The clerk writes carefully, then looks up. "You collided in the air." Danny hesitates, then nods once. The man exchanges a glance with another Luftwaffe officer in the room. Even here, the story has traveled. Outside, Danny and the others are issued thin blankets and directed toward a long wooden hut. Barrack 104. The door creaks open. Inside, rows of triple-tiered bunks. A small iron stove in the center. Tin mugs hang from nails in the wall. Men look up as the new arrivals enter. A tall RAF flight lieutenant rises from a lower bunk. His uniform is worn but tidy, insignia carefully preserved. "You Yanks from Schweinfurt?" he asks. Danny nods. The officer studies him a moment. "Heard about the midair. Two fortresses locked together." Danny removes his torn gloves slowly. "We came apart at 17,000. A low whistle passes through the hut. "Bloody miracle you're here at all," someone mutters. Night falls early. Searchlights sweep across the sand outside, beams crossing like silent blades. From beyond the wire comes the distant rumble of a freight train. Danny sits on his bunk, staring at his hands. Across from him, Sergeant Miller speaks in a low voice. "Think the other crew made it." Danny sees again the pilot crawling along the twisted fuselage. The moment of eye contact. The jump. "Some did," he says quietly. He doesn't mention the bomber tumbling into cloud. Later, as the stove glows faintly red, the RAF officer leans closer. "You'll find this place runs on discipline," he says. "We're officers here. Luftwaffe treats us properly, mostly." "Mostly?" Miller asks. The officer's expression tightens. "As long as Berlin doesn't change its mind." A sudden shout outside cuts through the barrack. Boots crunch on sand. A guard's voice, sharp and angry. The door swings open. Two German guards drag in a figure, an American airman, uniform torn, face bruised. He's barely conscious. "Shot while running," one guard announces flatly. The room goes still. Danny steps forward instinctively, catching the man before he collapses fully to the floor. The airman's eyes flicker open. "Plane didn't fall," he whispers hoarsely. Danny grips his shoulder. "No," he answers quietly. "It didn't." Outside, The searchlights continue their slow sweep. Inside the barrack, Danny understands something with cold clarity. Surviving the crash was chance. Surviving here will be choice. And somewhere beyond the wire, Germany is still at war with bombers that refuse to fall. Winter settles over Sagan like a slow tightening fist. Snow drifts against the barrack walls. Frost creeps along the inside of the windows. The stove burns weakly, fed with carefully rationed coal. Danny has been in Stalag Luft III for 3 months. Routine becomes survival. Roll call at dawn. Boots aligned beneath bunks. Blankets folded sharp. The Germans count them once, twice, sometimes 3 times if a number seems off. The Luftwaffe guards are strict but controlled. Professional airmen guarding other airmen. There is a quiet code between them, but hunger has no code. Danny sits at the long wooden table, scraping the last of thin turnip soup from his tin bowl. Red Cross parcels are divided with near-military precision powdered milk, tinned meat, chocolate. The British run distribution like a campaign. Across from him, Miller whispers, tunnels moving again. Danny doesn't react outwardly. He already knows. Under Barrack 104, beneath the stove, sand is disappearing inch by inch. Civilians may see prisoners. Guards may see captives. But beneath the sand, men are working. Flight Lieutenant Harding leans closer. It's not just escape, he says quietly. It's duty. We tie up resources. Force them to guard us instead of fight. Danny thinks of the field in Germany. Of the woman who said, "You did not fall." He wonders what she would think if she knew he was planning to disappear beneath her country. That night, during roll call, snow falls thick and silent. The guard's breath steams in the air. Spotlights glow through the white curtain of flakes. Danny stands in formation, heart steady. Under his boots, 20 feet below, men crawl through a narrow wooden shaft reinforced with bed boards and table legs. Sand is stuffed into hidden sacks, shaken from trouser legs during exercise periods. The risk is constant. If caught, it means solitary confinement. Perhaps worse. A shout breaks the stillness. One of the towers has spotted movement near the wire. A warning shot cracks across the camp. Every man freezes. A thin figure has slipped near the perimeter during the confusion of snowfall. Too early, too exposed. Another shot. The figure collapses into the snow. Danny feels the impact like a physical blow. The guards rush forward, dragging the body back inside the fence. No one speaks as the fallen airman is carried past the formation. The tunnel beneath their feet continues silent, unseen. Back in the barrack, Harding's voice is steady but cold. They think fear stops us, he says quietly. It doesn't. Danny lies awake long after lights out. He stares at the wooden slats above him. They crashed midair. They survived the fall. Now, beneath frozen German soil, they are preparing to rise again. And this time, gravity will not be the enemy. March 24, 1944. The tunnel is ready. Danny stands inside Barrack 104, boots dusted with fine sand, heart steady but heavy. Beneath the stove, the narrow shaft drops into darkness 30 feet down, reinforced with stolen boards, wired with improvised electric lights powered from the barrack line. 200 feet of tunnel stretch beneath frozen German soil. Only a fraction will make it out tonight. Harding grips Danny's shoulder. You're number 42. Danny nods once. They move in silence. One by one, men disappear beneath the floorboards. The shaft smells of earth and sweat. The air is thin, coffin tight. Danny lowers himself into the hole. The trapdoor closes above him. Darkness swallows sound. He crawls forward on elbows and knees, pushing a small wooden trolley ahead of him along makeshift rails. The walls brush his shoulders. Sand sifts into his collar. Somewhere ahead, a whisper passes down the line. At last, a faint draft touches his face. The exit. A small trapdoor hidden beneath snow beyond the wire. One man slips out, then another. Danny waits his turn, listening to the muffled thud of boots on packed earth above. Guards pacing, snow melting slightly under their weight. A signal comes down the tunnel, a sharp tug on the line. Go. Danny pushes upward. The trapdoor shifts. Cold air floods in. He emerges into night. The forest beyond the camp is darker than anything he has seen in months. No searchlights, no fences. Freedom is only yards away. He moves quickly, crouched low, following the shadow of the trees. Behind him, more men surface from the snow. Then, a shout. A flashlight beam snaps on near the fence. Halt! Gunfire cracks through the night. Men scatter into the trees. Danny runs. Branches whip against his face. Snow crunches underfoot. He hears more shouts in German, dogs barking in the distance. He does not look back. Hours later, breath burning in his chest, Danny reaches a narrow rail line. He hides in the shadows as a freight train clatters past. He studies the direction of travel. South, toward Czechoslovakia. He moves again before dawn, stealing rides beneath coal cars, slipping between villages. Once, in a small town, a woman hanging laundry freezes when she sees him. Their eyes meet. She says nothing. She turns back to her work. Days pass. Then, at a rural checkpoint near the border, a patrol steps from the trees, rifles raised. Danny stops slowly. He knows the look in their eyes. Not Luftwaffe. SS. They search him roughly. No words, no courtesy. As they march him away, he glances once toward the distant horizon. Somewhere beyond it, bombers still cross the sky. They will come again. The planes may fall. The men may be captured. But the war will not end here. And neither, Danny knows, will the will of those who refuse to stay grounded.